Hey there, it's Olivia-Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to kick off this reading vlog where I will be making and eating tteokbokki and reading I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Baek Sehi, and the cover is really bright on this side, so I'll put it back to this side. But yes, I'll be reading this book. It's a non-fiction account of her experience going through therapy for a light depression, and she's just talking very candidly about what her experience was like. This is translated, I believe. I've already read the prologue to it, and I really like what she said about emotions and how we struggle to express how we feel, probably because we're so tired of living that experience. And there's one quote that I really liked and appreciated, which is, "I've also realized that revealing my darkness is just as natural a thing to do as revealing my light." And I think that summarizes, or might summarize, this book very well, about the fact that you can highlight the good times and you can highlight the good moments, but there's nothing that's wrong with highlighting those darker ones too. It brings another picture, it brings another realness to life. But without further ado, I'm going to read more and then I'll check in again. But I did want to update you because I've read the first third of I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki, and I'm finding it really interesting because a lot of it is her recounting interviews that she voice recorded of her and her psychiatrist, and she talks about why she feels the way that she does, and she's been diagnosed with a slight depression and a lot of anxiety. But in some ways, so I'm not belittling her condition, but in some ways you might say that her condition is quite everyday. The slight depression is something that I feel like I can relate to with some of the things that she's talking about, and then sometimes I can't relate, but a lot of it just feels like things that people go through on a normal, regular basis. And the conversations with her therapist are then so interesting because it's reframing some of the things that you think you should know, or things that you think we do automatically but we don't. I just find it so interesting how relatable and easy it is to understand where this person is at, but also to acknowledge that that is a mental health condition, that is something you can go to therapy for. And I think it's a good way of showing that yes, you can go to therapy even if your symptoms are not severe. Even if they are tamer symptoms or softer symptoms, you can still go to therapy and talk those through. And I quite like that that book shows that. And it's also very interesting to see what the psychiatrist is telling her, because I do think there's a lot of portrayals in media about psychiatrists being very laid back and repeating the same questions like, how do you feel about that, and not giving any concrete suggestions. But this is so clear to me that the psychiatrist here is really giving her suggestions, making her think about things, diagnosing her when she needs a diagnosis. It's just feels like a very healthy portrayal of therapy experience, even though I've never been to therapy myself, so take that with a pinch of salt. Something that I've been thinking about a lot as I see more and more of my friends go to therapy and really benefit from it. The tteokbokki hasn't come into it too much. It hasn't come into it too much yet, but I'm hoping that it will later, because I'm curious about how this title kind of ties into the memoir that I'm reading. I also like the layout of this. It is told in the interview style format of like, me psychiatrist, which I think I've shown on camera. And then there's almost personal little short, very short, like 100-word essays that she writes to herself with a title and a header, and some things that she says are in bold in the book, so they're like a big phrase that stand out. And I find the layout of the book is interesting because it's drawing your eye to certain things, drawing your attention to certain elements. But now that I'm a third of the way through the book, I think it's time to make our first tteokbokki dish, which is going to be the sweet and spicy tteokbokki, which I think is, I would like to say, tteokbokki in its most standard formation of the food. Like, it's got no variation on it. This is the typical tteokbokki. So I'm gonna make that, eat that, try it for the first time, and then continue reading. We'll see what it tastes like. This is supposed to be one of the spicier versions, and I've also got a recipe to make a sweet tteokbokki, and I've got more tteokbokki, so we can try the sweet one next in the next reading break. But let me try the spicy one, the first bite. I really like the sauce. I didn't expect it to be as chewy as it was for some reason, but that works for me. This is good. This is really good. This is really nice, and also I know that the person on the cover is using chopsticks, but we don't have any chopsticks in the house, so I had to just go this route instead. But this is really good. I like the sauce. I don't know like how well it's been done, but I like the spiciness of it. I love the chewy texture of the Korean rice cakes as part of the tteokbokki, and the recipe was like put some leeks in there and put some of this in there, and I didn't have all of that, so this is kind of like a really basic one with the rice cakes and the onion. I chose not to put any fish cakes in it because I don't particularly love eating fish myself, but yeah, this is very good. Okay, so I've just finished reading a lot more. I'm actually like 2/3 of the way through now, and I take back what I said about the psychiatrist, because at one point the psychiatrist ups her medication and does not tell her that she ups her medication, which to me is just a big red flag. I'd be so scared if my psychiatrist changed how much medication I was taking and didn't give me a heads up or give me a warning, so that was strange. But then other than this, I feel like this part just kind of went over more of the same thing, kind of more deeply into her emotions of like self-loathing and judging others and like projecting her feelings onto others. So I don't actually have too much to say other than what the psychiatrist did there was really, really dodgy. But also I think this reads so quickly because now I'm at a chapter called Epilogue, and even though it's a chapter called Epilogue, it's by no means the end because there's a lot of postscripts. So I decided to stop here because I've tried the tteokbokki, and also I'm really surprised because there's been no mention of the tteokbokki still. There's still no mention of tteokbokki. All that was mentioned was that first, you know, prologue bit where she's like, sometimes I want to die, but sometimes I want to eat tteokbokki. That's it. It doesn't come in through the rest of the book whatsoever. So I'm hoping that maybe it comes into the postscript or the epilogue. Otherwise I'm going to feel like slightly disappointed. But overall, it's good. I don't think this is my favourite memoir I've ever read. I've read quite a lot of memoirs, and I just find it a very interesting take on mental health, and one that's worth having out there, and I think a lot of people are going to find relatable, but it's not my favourite thing ever just yet, but I'm reserving my judgment to the end. And I thought now could be a good point to pause and to drink my tea, because that's what we do in these vlogs. We read books and we drink tea. So I'm very sad. I'm very sad because number 18, which is the one I need to drink now, is called Licorice and Cinnamon. And if you've been around here for a while, I can't remember the exact vlog, but I had a different one which was like licorice and peppermint or something, and it was disgusting. It was the worst tea that I'd had from this advent calendar. Delicious exotic blend of cocoa, cinnamon and licorice. That doesn't sound good. And it says here cinnamon and cacao, sweeter still with licorice. No more heavenly brew than this. I sincerely doubt it's gonna be good. Okay, it's also really hot here in the UK. It's at like 28 degrees, but I'm gonna go and make this tea nonetheless. Wish me the best, because this taste test is gonna be something. Oh. It's so bad. Oh. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to a tea? Oh, it tastes so bad. Oh my gosh. That's really bad. That's really bad. In the beginning, you just get the taste of cinnamon. Like the first sip you take, I was like, oh, this is fine. It's the 3 cinnamon tea. And it just tastes like the 3 cinnamon. The cinnamon is the dominant taste. It devours it all. And then the licorice kicks in. And it's just like a nasty undertaste after you've had the beautiful cinnamon in your mouth. It's like, here's something good, let's ruin it immediately at the end of your sip. I'm gonna choke this back. I really don't like wasting tea, so I'm gonna choke this back and finish reading my book here. I want to die, but I want to eat tteokbokki. And I think it's safe to say I'm not a fan of licorice tea. Not at all. So what I've just made is the sweet tteokbokki, so it's not the spicy one, it's a different recipe, and looks like it looks very similar to the last one, so I think it's probably just the same thing but just sweet instead of spicy. I also finished the book and I've actually changed my mind. So I think in this vlog I've been deviating and like switching between using the word therapist and psychiatrist, and in the book it actually says psychiatrist. So I just wanted to mention that because I actually think it's really important. The person that she's seeing is not a therapist, it's a psychiatrist. And then the second thing I want to mention is that I don't actually think the psychiatrist was really good or very good for her, and it became more apparent as I was reading the psychiatrist was doing things that I disagree with, so that was a bit dodgy. And then even in the postscripts, the psychiatrist has a section and the psychiatrist was like, I was cringing about the advice I gave her. I don't think it was the best. I have to agree, because even though in the beginning I was like, she's diagnosing her, it's great, she just kept giving different diagnoses for different things, and I was like, is this helpful? You're just reciting the knowledge that you know rather than helping her independently. So that was interesting, and I won't tell you where it ends with her mental health journey because I think that's something worth reading if you're interested in reading the book. But yeah, I do think the postscripts didn't really add that much to the story, and I don't think it changed anything about how I was feeling about the book overall. So overall I thought it was okay, and my major disappointment is that tteokbokki is barely mentioned in this book. It's a fantastic title, but for the fact that it is in the title, it's not actually about that. It's more so just about her psychiatry experience, which is really disappointing. The psychiatrist mentions it once in the postscript in a sentence, but it doesn't feel at all relevant, and it's mentioned once in the prologue, but again, it's not entirely relevant. It's more like symbolic. So that's a shame, but I did enjoy doing this eating and reading vlog. I'm just gonna quickly try the sweet one here to close off this vlog. Okay, that's very chewy, so that took me a while, but that was still good. To be honest, I don't taste that much difference from the spicy one. Like, it's definitely less spicy, but it's like going from medium spice to low spice. Like, there's not that much difference. It is sweeter, but not significantly sweeter. But it's also still nice. I like tteokbokki. I've decided I like tteokbokki. We realised after the first time we need to have smaller portions. Please let me know in the comment section down below, have you ever tried tteokbokki, or is there a food that you haven't tried before that you really want to try? Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!